So, everybody out there, how are all my little minions and my fans out there today? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I am your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the #1 scumbag himself, Rex XXX Ruger, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Is there any doubt? Let me give a little product placement here. If you want the locks that rock, you want a coif that looks like this, get the product. As always, I'm coming to you today from the Blue Room. And like I said, I am the son of a legend. Mr. Diamond David Lee Roth, you know him as the front man of Van Halen, the only front man of Van Halen. And I am his offspring, the son of glam, the front man of the band. Just smoked a few grams, always going out with a bang. Wop, bop-a-doo, bop, wop, bang, bang, shazam. Ah, damn. I move like the man. I sing like the man. I dance like the man. I sashay like the man. That's right. I am the hardest working man in show business, fronting several of my own glam/sleaze metal bands up and down the East Coast. It's what you do when you're the man with the golden voice and the silk tongue. But I digress. Now, let me toot my own horn a little bit more. I'm the hair metal high priest, the king of sleaze. No end to my talents. That's the point. But enough about me. You're here joining me on my podcast, the No Frills Podcast. As you noticed, no cute intro, no animation, no glitzy little theme song. You see it all, warts and all. You even see me in my pathetic attempts to work technology as a 49-year-old man. And you might say, but hey, I give you a look behind the curtain. We don't need no glitzy bullshit on here. You don't need the frills because you're getting the thrills. And you know what the thrills are? Well, looking at me. It's a thrill for me to look at me. And I'm going to give myself a look here before our guest comes. Ooh. Wow. It's a guy I'm really stoked about having on here, too. Let me tell you. This is a band I love. Let me say it one more time. This is a band I love. So, naturally, I'm excited. But I'm always excited. So, while we're waiting for him to join us here, I will plug my new band, and I've narrowed it down. I can't be everywhere. I had to cut down some of my projects. So now my main focus is Love Sword. And I am looking for players out there. So you can reach me on, social media, on any of my platforms. I'm out there, folks. I'm out there. And I invite anybody who wants to be in Love Sword. Now, mind you can't be the front man because there is only one front man. And, of course, that's me. But what are you going to do? So I hope everybody's doing good out there in internet land. I know you're doing a lot better now that you're feasting your eyes on the one and only. But, again, I digress. Let me let our guest in here because I'm excited. I'm giddy. And there he is. Look at that.
Howdy. How's it going?
Look at this. This is what technology is doing for the world today, allowing stuff like this to happen, right?
Amazingness.
It's allowing you to get a look at David Lee Roth Jr. What do you think about that? Huh?
Hey, I'm excited about it, man.
You look
fantastic.
Hey, I'm excited too, man. And I'm going to get this right. You ready for the big build up here? I'm going to get my markers here. Pepe Clarke. I've been working on this. Magana.
Wow.
Yeah. I like the little curvy thing over the Magana part.
You like those things?
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. Yeah. From legendary, and I'm going to put it out there right now because I pride myself on only dealing with legends. And I'm going to say it right now. King are already legendary status to me.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We greatly appreciate that.
Yeah. Now you guys, you're living in Texas right now, but you guys met out in California, correct?
Yes.
You formed the band out there.
But
I noticed reading in your bio though that you are of Mexican descent.
I grew up in Juarez, Mexico.
Okay,
Right
so
across.
okay, so as a percussionist, how much exposure did you have in Mexico? Did you live there for a while? Did you have any like formative years there?
All my life, from
All your
when I
life.
was born to when I was 18.
So how do you think that has shaped you? Have you been able to take any of that, especially as a percussionist with South America and in the Latin culture, you know, having pretty much their own style of music? Have you taken any of that and threaded that into your own style of playing?
I mean, part of me says that everything, like everyone's environment affects the way you produce art, no, or music
Sure.
or whatever. So, I mean, KYNG is obviously not a Latin band, but
Right.
I mean, you know the song in the Line of Pigs.
Yep.
So that song, that the heavy part on that song is I got from like a traditional Mexican song. I got the rhythm for that, and
Okay.
and actually Eddie came up with that riff, and that part just worked perfectly for it. And I had been working on something like that because I want to incorporate some more Mexican stuff into that. So
Right. Well, you do see it sometimes. You see it with somebody like a Max Cavalera when he's doing Soulfly and early Sepultura stuff, how he kind of threaded in like a lot of the, you know, like the tribal sounds and different drum sounds and stuff like that. And I was wondering how that kind of upbringing affected you as like a percussionist, though. I mean, you must have been exposed to some great stuff down there.
I was exposed to great stuff. I used to play in another band called Unplugged. Did you ever hear that?
No.
And they that was a very Puerto Rican influenced band.
Okay.
And they definitely meshed a lot of genres from the Caribbean into metal music. So I definitely felt like in that case, I was like, that was definitely part of my voice, right?
Right.
With KYNG, I think it's more of what I grew up listening to, which was just like most metalheads was just metal, you know, like I grew up with the typical Pantera, Sepultura, Megadeth.
Yeah.
Metallica, obviously. And then as I got older, I started getting into more classic stuff like Sabbath. And so, I mean, again, I feel like, yeah, it probably does have some influence.
It's there.
Whether it's directly or indirectly. You know what I mean?
Now, I have a hard time sometimes being a metalhead myself, and I've talked about this on other episodes about all these different genres and subgenres. Now, a big term that comes up when I see or I search anything with you guys is the dreaded stoner metal.
Right.
What does stoner metal exactly mean? Is this the kind of music? Because you guys don't seem to thread a lot of drug references or marijuana references or have it all over your merchandise and stuff. What does that really mean when you get labeled stoner metal?
I always thought of it more of I've always thought of stoner metal as Sabbath influenced modern bands.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
I think so.
Like COC is considered stoner metal.
Yeah.
The Sword is considered stoner metal. Baroness is considered Red Fanger is considered stoner. But I mean, I don't if they're stoners or not. I don't know. I feel like it's just become this thing that
crazy.
You know, like,
I know
that ties us to the 70s, right? Like to 70s heavy metal. You know.
Yep.
I feel like that's just how it got labeled. Most bands obviously do partake in in being stoners. You know, like.
Sure.
Part of the genre, I guess. But that's part of most genres.
I've also heard you guys refer to your sound as California heavy. Now, because there's such a great, you know, that everybody obviously knows about the legendary Bay Area thrashing. Just being out there and having been such a hotbed for metal music for so many years. When you guys call yourself California heavy. How does California shape you guys as a band? I mean, is it just being in that area and it having such a rich history? Well,
for us, there's like California has two different worlds, right? There's the glitz and the glamour.
Yep.
And there's Skid Row, right? There's mansions, there's tents all over the place.
Yep.
And we feel like we blend pretty with ugly, right? Like Eddie has a pretty voice. He never screams.
Yeah.
We try to do pretty harmonies, pretty melodies, stuff like that.
Definitely.
Our music's still drudgy, heavy, and that's kind of like that's what we call California heavy. Like it's the mix of both worlds into music.
Now, in 2016, I was reading an article where you guys had to send a cease and desist to somebody else using KYNG.
There's KYNGs popping up every day.
Now, I was just going to tell you, I was just on Apple Music, and I'm thinking we got to drop some more of these goddamn things. Kings are popping up all over the place.
All over the place. Like, yeah, lots. And it's mainly in rap. Mainly in rap. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of
they're all
king
hip hop
rappers.
artists. I see the guy that you served the papers to just added an extra Y and an extra G to his.
Yeah, which is fun, you know. Hey, more power to him, you know. Like, he can definitely do that legally. But
right.
Yeah, we get people asking us all the time because a lot of times, you know, these streaming services will notify you if you follow an artist that they've released a new track. Right. And they'll get people will get notified like, oh, King released a new track, and they'll listen and it's like, oh, well, this isn't King.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
So 2016, you guys put out "Breathe in the Water," an absolutely ass-kicking album. Then you come back in 2021 with "Beyond the Dead Woods," and you take the acoustic approach. Whose idea was that, and why do you follow up such a kick-ass album with? And it is a beautiful, absolutely beautiful album, but with a lot of bands, you know, not taking the acoustic route. And it was very popular, obviously, in the 90s when MTV was doing Unplugged, which you guys would have fit into that format great. But why an Unplugged album? What, you know, what was the impetus for doing that kind of an album?
I mean, it was a few factors. We had recorded those songs a while ago.
Right.
Kind of for fun. We were actually in Juarez, where I grew up. And a buddy of mine has a studio, and we lay down some of those tracks. And we wanted to have them, you know, just to use for different scenarios, right? And then obviously pandemic happened, and we were kind of stuck at home, and we're like, why don't we just release these and see what happens, you know, and see what people think? And so that's basically what we did. There was no more thought into doing that than the fact that we were so stagnant and we wanted to put something out there for people. Right.
Well, you guys did a beautiful job on it. I mean,
thank you so much.
And there's not a lot of heavy bands that would even dare to step out of, you know, their down-tuned guitars and their heavy big sound, you know, and even take that risk. Because I do feel like when you put out acoustic, you know, I mean, it is a little bit harder to cover up the fuck ups, so to speak, right? I mean,
well, so radio station. Where do you live?
I live in upstate New York.
Upstate New York, that's right. Well, there's radio stations all across the country. A lot of them will have bands come in and do acoustic sets, and some of them will be more elaborate than others, right? Right. So when we started doing those, we realized we basically started doing our like different like people usually play their songs exactly as is, but acoustically, and we started like fucking around with the songs and putting in different things, and we really liked our acoustic versions. So that's where it started, right? Like, oh, like we kind of do this cool version of Falling Down. Let's record it, you know, or we kind of do this cool version of this other song. Let's record it. So that's kind of how it started with those acoustic radio shows that we had to do in the mornings.
Now, for a lot of those heavy metal, I'll call them what they are, heavy metal snobs that I was speaking about earlier, that have to divide everything and put it in a box and all these subgenres, and they want their music a certain way. Did you worry about any pushback from fans, like saying, what the hell is this? King is a heavy band, and now we're getting this acoustic album?
Honestly, I never even thought about that. I thought people would dig it, you know, just based on the fact that we aren't a screaming band. There's no like growling vocals or anything. I was like, people would probably get a kick out of this just based on. I mean, we have some softer songs, you know. We have songs like "Takes Its Toll" or "Porcelain" that are a little on the lighter sides, and people seem to really dig those. So I honestly never thought like, people might not like this. Like I was just like, let's do this.
So you guys are a trio. Was that always the blueprint? Because you do see a lot of bands, obviously, that are 4 members. Some like the 2-guitar attack of 5 members. Do you think that works best for your band? Have you ever thought about, geez, what if we had a second guitar player, make our sound any bigger? I love what you guys do, and I'm not knocking it by any means. You guys are a fantastic trio. But did you ever think about, you know, making the band bigger, or was that the game plan from right out of the gate?
Thank you. I don't think we really had a game plan out of the gate. I remember when we started debating on bringing in another guitar player, we did feel like we were flowing really well with how we were writing and stuff, that we didn't want. I mean, we kept saying the term "too many cooks in the kitchen." Right. And I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to keep it a 3-piece. Then afterwards, I don't think we ever discarded not having a second guitar player, but just the living situation, you know, when you're touring in a van, it's like, why are we going to bring another person into the scenario? Thankfully we got along great. Like the 3 of us got along really well, and we made it work really well. So it was one of those things like, maybe it would be nice to have another guitar player. At the same time, I feel like we're doing a good job as a 3-piece. It keeps us all on our toes a little more.
Sure.
And it's working. It's working. People like that we're a 3-piece, so we kind of kept it going that way.
I don't want to fall in the trap of believing everything on the internet, but when you do go Google you guys and come to your Wikipedia, though, there's only 2 of you guys listed as band members. Is Tony still in the band?
No, Tony quit the band. He quit about 2 years ago.
Okay.
He got married. He got a really good job. He's really happy. We're still great friends. I just talked to him last week. So yeah, he stepped down. And
have you filled that void?
Yes and no. So the person that we've done some shows afterwards, and we've even done some writing with Nick Shins, who plays in Job for a Cowboy and Cephalic Carnage.
Okay. And
he's been a good friend of ours for a really long time. He's one of my favorite bass players, and I just don't know he could sing really well, and he can. Like, he's a great singer. So
yeah.
When we asked him about it, he was like, "Oh yeah, like let's do it." And I remember playing our first show, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, he blew me away. So if he's down, like he can play with us for forever. But I mean, obviously, Job for a Cowboy and Cephalic Carnage are much bigger band. So if there's a conflict of interest there, we would have to a conflict of schedules. We would have to see other options, I'm sure. But for now, I mean, if Nick's down, he can.
Well, I myself, as you can tell by the glitz and glam, I'm a born frontman. I mean, Rex Ruger does not take a backseat to nobody. So if you guys need my services, Eddie's got to move over and be a full-time guitar player.
There you go. All right.
But I'm here for you guys.
Well consider it. Man.
I want the King machine to keep going forward, and I'll do whatever I can. Now getting back to the unplugged stuff, it's in just your music in general, not even just the unplugged stuff, but it's undeniable to not hear, at least to my ears, some tones of Alice in Chains and also Chris Cornell. Was that grunge music at all an influence on any of you guys?
It was a huge influence on all of us.
Yeah,
on all of us. We always say that we wear our influences on our sleeve. I think you can hear. I feel like you can hear the '90s like
absolutely
through your speakers. Because we loved Pearl Jam. We love Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains is one of my favorite bands. Me too. Soundgarden, obviously. We also loved Pantera, and we loved some of that stuff. Of the heavier stuff. So we basically tried to do this mishmash. We didn't even try. We started writing, and that's kind of what happened, like how it came out. And obviously, Eddie's voice is very distinct, and he does have a very Chris Cornell-ish sound to it. So it's inevitable that people make the comparison,
Now, when you guys do any covers, specifically, I'm talking about you guys did Bowie's Starman.
Yeah.
Who makes that decision, and who's the Bowie fan? Is it all of you guys? Like when you guys sit down and decide, hey, why don't we put a cover on here? Is that kind of like a democracy, or does somebody make a suggestion? Or
let me think. So we all have very similar tastes, but that Bowie song, I'm almost positive was Tony's idea. I think of the 3 of us, even though we all like Bowie, Tony's probably the biggest Bowie fan.
Right.
Of the 3 of us. When we did Escape, we were at a restaurant and we were listening to this acoustic version of Wasted Years, Iron Maiden's Wasted Years. So an acoustic version of it. And Eddie was like, "Man, what's a song from an epic band that we could do?" And I loved that song Escape, and I was like, "Why don't we do Escape?" And Eddie was all about it. So it was never really like a big discussion. It was just like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do it." You know what I mean?
Yep.
Van Halen, I think, was when we do a cover of Hot for Teacher, and I think
nice.
That was Eddie's idea. We do Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, which was Eddie's idea. So it's not really like, I don't think it's a democracy. We all like these songs. Like it'll be hard for one of us to be like, "Oh, I don't want to do that song." You know what I mean? So
at least you made the proper call and you chose something from the Van Halen years with Roth.
Of course.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I also hear a lot of similarities between, and you had mentioned them before, Corrosion of Conformity. Obviously, we just mentioned the Alice in Chains ones. What is it about that dark, haunting sound that appeals to you the most? Because obviously, like, this is very You know, it's mood music, and it can be obviously more on the somber side. I mean, you know, that's the one thing that I love the most about Alice in Chains is that dark hauntingness in Lane Staley's voice. Is that like by design? You know, is that something that you guys shoot for, that kind of dark, somber kind of sound?
I think it's what we I think it's what we like. I don't think we really talked about it, but so Corrosion of Conformity was a band that I got into later in life. I was already playing in that band, Ankla, and I was in that band with Tony, and Tony kind of introduced me to Corrosion of Conformity. And then I found myself listening to them all the time on all my every time it was my turn to drive, I was listening to Corrosion of Conformity, and I listened to Down, and that was the music that kept me up, and I kept getting more and more stoked on it. And so that's when Tony and I started talking about doing our own little band and our own thing. Yeah. And that's kind of how KYNG was born, but it was born based on that style of music, us both loving that style of music, you know?
Right.
I've always loved depressing music. Always.
Me too. Guilty pleasure. Me too.
Yeah, it's one of those things that my wife is always like, how the fuck can you listen to this and not like want to commit suicide? I'm like, this makes, like, ironically, this makes me happy. I don't know if this is a Misery Loves Company. I don't think I'm a miserable person, but like, I fucking love that shit. The darker, the better for me.
You know, just now when you said that, it made me think of the movie This Is 40, when Paul Rudd is insisting that you can dance and feel good to Alice in Chains.
Exactly.
It makes me happy. I can dance to it.
Exactly. Man, I have a few friends also from Juarez, but they live in LA. And every time I visit now, I mean, we used to hang out all the time. Now, every time I visit, all we do is get in one of their garages, drink, and listen to depressing music. Yeah. And we love it.
Now, so obviously we just touched on some bands specifically that have been influences, so we don't have to tread over that territory again. But what about specifically drummers? You know what I mean? Who is it the first time that really made you say, I not only want to play music, but, you know what I mean, I want to be a drummer? And that's the guy that, you know, who made you fall in love with the drums?
For whatever reason, I was always drawn to drums. I grew up in a Christian family, and so we would go to church every Sunday, and I was always just honed in on the drummer, like, since I can remember. So I've always asked for drums. I think my first like drum hero was definitely Lars Ulrich, and I used to think like, obviously he's the best drummer ever. Yeah. Like, nobody can do this. Like, it's so
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so I listened to him a lot, and then as I got older, I take away a lot from a lot of my friends. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I feel like they're bigger influences than really like the people that are in bands that I listen to consistently. Just, you know, like I did go to a Musicians Institute, so a lot of the drummers there influenced me a lot. A lot of my peers. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So a lot of my teachers. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't pinpoint like a drummer. I would say Lars is the first one for sure. After that, I mean, it's
well, once you bring up a guy like Lars, now you being a drummer, now playing music as a profession, and you look back on Lars, for instance, you know, he's taken a lot of flack now as years have gone by about not being such a great drummer. We were blown away by him as kids, and I felt the same way, like looking at him thinking, wow, in the one video, and he's playing the double bass, and you start to realize he might be the only guy in the world that can do that. You know what I mean? And then you start to realize that there's more guys out there who can, though. But I've seen Lars in other interviews, and he'll be the first to admit he's not a technically proficient drummer, but he's a very vibe influence and kind of plays off of a feel, and believes he's the best drummer for Metallica, you know, to play with that band. You agree with that? I mean, like, what do you see when you see Lars is playing now that you're a full-fledged drummer playing it professionally?
Well, I used to think that I had the very clever comparison of Lars and Ringo, and then I realized a lot of people have made that comparison. I've heard it a lot through the years, but I really think it was an original idea at some point in my life, where I do think, I mean, you have a band of 4 people, right? Yeah. They're all important. So if they become as big as Metallica, Lars is as much of a reason for it becoming that big as is James Hetfield, as is Kirk Hammett, as is Cliff Burton or Jason Newston or Robert Trujillo or whatever. Yeah. So I agree with that. Of course, he's the perfect guy for. He's great. He's great. That band, you know, and even if he's not as proficient, he's written parts that more drummers have learned more than any other metal drummer ever. You know what I mean? Right. We've all learned his stuff. All of us. Right. You know. Sure. At one point or another. So he's definitely number one.
I've watched you in past interviews and doing podcasts and getting interviewed at venues and stuff, and read some of your online interviews, and so you cite being like a big thrash kid growing up. You were big into thrash music, as was I. So to throw you a little curveball here, if you had to take away the big four right now, the big four as we know them, who's the next big four?
The next big four?
I mean, who would you insert in there if you couldn't have any of those four?
Oh, I was insert Sepultura for sure.
Yep.
Testament's not in big four, right?
No.
So Testament, Exodus.
Neither are they. Yep. And who?
Anthrax. Oh,
and
they
Anthrax.
are in the big four.
They are in the big four, yeah.
Testament and probably Death Angel.
Okay, fair enough. A lot of Bay Area. You guys are representing California very well.
And Brazil.
And Brazil.
One Brazil.
Yeah. Well, Max is a huge, I mean, I just think that guy, just everything he puts out just seems to get heavier, and that guy just exudes metal. And he's one of those guys that's never really had a hiccup throughout his career. Everything has been like pretty consistent.
Everything he does is fucking great. I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah.
I'm hoping to have him on here sometime next month, but I mean, I might fanboy out a little bit on that one. I'm not going to lie, Pepe.
Oh, I wouldn't blame you. If you think about Sepultura's career and how big they become and where they come from and the impact they've had on heavy metal music, they're leaps and bounds above like a lot of bands that had it a little bit easier. You know what I mean?
Now, how do you feel about now, like, because we both seem to be so into them, I can kind of sense that in your voice too. How do you feel about them after the Cavalera brothers are not there, though? How do you feel about the current incarnation of Sepultura?
I mean, I don't really have an opinion on the incarnation of Sepultura. I'll tell you that I think that drummer they have now is the best drummer out there right now. Like, and maybe the best metal drummer I've ever heard in my life.
It's pretty damn good. Yeah.
I just saw Cavalera playing Beneath the Remains and Arise.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you, I felt like I was seeing the original lineup. Like, it wouldn't have made a difference. I felt like I was seeing Sepultura when I saw the Cavalera brothers playing those songs. You know what I mean?
And Soulfly just released an album here this past Friday, and I mean, Max just keeps upping the ante. I mean, it is some heavy shit.
Oh, he's great. I think he writes the best riffs.
Now, with the music industry currently the way it is right now, and it's no secret, obviously, just trying to get commercial success and trying to make money, it's very daunting right now. So, obviously, live shows are very important. Do you yourself go see a lot of live music when you're not playing?
Not a lot. I will. I went to that Cavalera thing, right? And I was really excited about it. But there's few things that I get super excited about to go see, if I'm being honest. Like, I will try to go see friends, bands play. I own a music school in El Paso, so sometimes the teachers here play. I don't go all the time. I have gone out to see them, play a few times. I do think it's important to support your local scene, but I do have kids.
Me too, and grandkids. I know it's it's tough.
So it's tough.
And plus it's tough too. Like, you don't see it so much with heavier music, but some of the ticket prices, trying to just go see other acts has gotten to be very ridiculous, though.
Oh, insane! Completely unaffordable. Like, it's like, I'm not gonna go to
somebody I just talked to the other day had a friend that spent $1,200 on a Bruce Springsteen ticket, and not even a good seat, a nosebleed seat.
One ticket, $1,200.
Yeah, one ticket, wow. And that's not even like a meet and greet or a VIP experience or anything. That's just for a fucking seat. I mean,
that's insane. That's ridiculous.
Now, you as the drummer, obviously, you have a very different perspective of the show, because obviously everything is happening in front of you, and you're obviously towards the back of the stage. When you look out and you see the reaction that you guys are getting, and what Eddie, and I'll say Tony for now, but whoever ends up being that third member, what kind of reaction do you see from the fans, and why do you think KYNG is a great live band? Like, what do you see your bandmates out there doing that that makes you guys a great live experience?
I think we exert a lot of energy. I think our live show I think it's a very honest live show. I mean, I don't even know if I should say stuff like this, but like, I mean, we don't play to any tracks. We don't play like. You
can say that. That's a hot topic right now, with a lot of these older bands kind of sitting back on their laurels and doing just that. I mean,
you're hearing us. You know what I mean? You're hearing a real live band. If the guitar goes out, you're not gonna hear a guitar. You know what I mean?
You're seeing everything, warts and all. Yep.
Yeah. I think we have a great singer. I always tell him like I'm his biggest fan. Like I think he's a great singer, and I think the singing aspect in live music suffers. Like a lot of times these singers that you go see aren't so awesome. You know what I mean? And
I know.
I think Eddie's a great singer. I think the harmonies that Eddie and Tony did, and the harmonies that now Eddie and Nick do, are great. Like it's I think you're in for a real big treat if you're into heavy rock music when you go see us.
Now, when you now, as you had mentioned, a lot of older bands, you know, using backing tracks, stuff like that. So you sound like a purist, though. So you don't think even as a band gets on in age, though, that those tricks should be applied. Like that's not a live experience in your mind.
No, I'm not anti. Like people, that's fine. Like it's a show, right? Like, We're using amplifiers so your guitar sounds louder. You know, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, we're all. So you got
no problem if a Vince Neil or a Paul Stanley from Kiss, has to use backing vocals or tracks or anything in their ear monitors because you're there for the show and you understand that these guys, as they get on an age, can't do what they once did.
So, like, you've seen the recent clips of Bon Jovi, no?
Yes.
He sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Is that better? Is what he's doing? Like, should he hang it up?
Right.
Like,
right.
He's being pure. He's being honest, and I respect the fuck out of him for it. But as a fan, like, is that better for you? Like, I don't know. Like, it depends on each individual, right? Like, somebody could say, like, oh, I wish I was hearing him sing. And then somebody else could say, oh, I wish he sounded better. You know?
Right. You can always play devil's advocate. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it's up to every individual. I'm not anti anything. Like, if bands use tracks and stuff, like, it's perfectly fine and more power to them. I'm just saying, like, when you go see us, you're hearing it like that.
You're getting authentic. Yeah. So you had said that you had always kind of been in love with specifically playing the drums, but music in general, like, was it always the game plan? Was there ever any thoughts about anything else as a career? Did your parents want to see you go in a different direction, or was it music, like, right out of the gate?
So when I was 16, I remember I told my parents that I wanted to be a musician. And there was definitely a lot of pushback and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think they saw how serious I was about it. And I focused on graduating high school and stuff. And, like, they said, like, we're not going to support this if you're fucking up your grades and stuff. So they saw me work towards wanting to do this. I think as time went on, they felt comfortable with it because I did start making a living, and I mean I've always struggled. I've never been comfortable or anything, but at the end of the day, they see how happy I am, and I'm really I love playing music. Like it's what I love to do.
Now I got going through my mind right now, and I want to ask you because it is such a beautiful song. The beginning of what was. Now you don't see this happening a lot on albums anymore, where people are doing a full-on instrumental and showcasing their chops on their instruments. How come an instrumental? I mean, you guys have to obviously have a lot of confidence in your playing, and it is a wonderful song, but it is kind of a forgotten thing in music now. You don't see people putting like a fully instrumental song on there.
Is this beginning of the end, right?
Did I have it wrong? Yeah.
Untrampled Sun?
No. I want to say it's called The Beginning of What Was.
Oh.
It's an instrumental.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's on the acoustic.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
That was.
I got happy there for a minute because I thought I knew the King catalog better than Pepe did.
You almost did. That's a song that Eddie wanted to write with. His name is Ro. I can't remember his last name, but he plays in that band 12 Foot Ninja. Yep. And Eddie and him, he does a lot of acoustic videos that he posts on social media. So Eddie wanted to work something with him, and I'm all for that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff on albums. Yeah. Like when we were kiddos, like we'd listen to shit like that all the time, and kind of like be mesmerized by it, Yeah. So, and I think they did a beautiful job with it.
So obviously you had mentioned earlier about being happy what you do, but sometimes it is tough to find, especially when you're not in a big stadium type band, to find that commercial success or whatever. But so you've obviously had to take day jobs before. What are some shitty day jobs that you've had? Have you had to go through some shitty jobs?
Oh, a ton. I've been a busboy for a long time.
Yeah.
At Musicians Institute where I graduated from,
Yeah.
I would be a janitor between tours, so they would hire
Really?
me to be a janitor. Yeah, so I would I'd be sweeping up cigarettes and cleaning toilets and stuff like that. I did that for a real long time. Thankfully, it was just between tours. It was just what would keep me afloat.
Right.
And I was touring a lot back then, so I would do it for a few weeks, go out, come back. They would hire me, do it for a few weeks, go out, come back. Stuff like that. I did that for a long time. I've cleaned houses. I did drum lessons, house to house. I played in church bands, and then when I moved to El Paso, which is where I live now, I opened a music school. So this is my first business endeavor.
Yep, and we will get to the school definitely. So when you guys go out on tour now, and you mentioned that you have a family and children of your own, how do you balance? How does your particular band balance family life and traveling? Are you guys a band that just says, all right, kiss the wife and kids goodbye and just go out for months at a time, or are you one of those go and do a few dates, come home, go and do a few dates? How do you balance it?
Man, we honestly haven't toured properly in a long time. Like I don't think I've had kids while we toured, but that ended really soon after I had my first kiddo.
Right.
It's been years since we've toured, you know what I mean? And so we've done shows here and there, which has been great. I would like to see us start going back out on the road properly and doing, I don't want to be out. Honestly, I don't want to be on the road for 3 months anymore, which was what we used to do.
Right.
But a good tour here and there, like I'm all for.
Now, who's a band out there right now, other than you guys, who are in the early stages of their career, that you think is really flying the flag well and keeping hard rock and metal alive? I mean, I'm hoping that I'm 49 years old, so I'm kind of in a time warp, still listening to my old thrash bands and finding it very hard sometimes to find new music other than like little nuggets that I come across, like bands like yourself and other young bands. But who are some bands out there that really get you excited, throughout your travels that you like?
Man, there's this band called Royal Thunder from Atlanta. Okay. I don't think they're new. I think they're about as old as we are. But I love that band. I've never met them. Oh, I've met a few of them, but I love that band, Royal Thunder. We've toured with Crowbot, who we love, and I think they're a great band. Great, they put on a great show. So they're definitely somebody that I'd bring up. I haven't heard much from them, but I remember one time we toured with a band called Monster Truck from Canada.
Okay. Yep, haven't heard from them in a while.
I thought they were really, really great back then. Man, who else? You kind of put me on the spot because I can't really think.
That's all right.
I can't really think right now about, and I know there's bands that I'm like, I would love to talk about them, but those three are awesome bands to me.
I mean, you guys don't play. You guys play certainly a heavy style of music, but with very discernible, fantastic vocals that people can understand. A lot of times, thrash and death metal, obviously, it's not as able to discern the lyrics. But when you're off stage, though, are you still a thrash guy? Is it still mainly what you listen to, or has your musical palette kind of expanded, or are you still like your metal?
It's definitely expanded. I listen to a lot of Mexican and Argentinian rock. For sure. I listen to all that I guess it's kind of like a new trend, that band that dude Nurgle put out, Me and That Man.
No, but I'll check it out. Anytime you make a suggestion, you see me writing.
Yeah.
I like suggestions from people that are out there actually out living it, I mean,
Me and That Band I think is really good. It's more like Johnny Cassius.
Okay.
Cassius. Did you hear that new Phil Anselmo band called N Minor?
I haven't heard N Minor. The last thing I heard him do was the Illegals, the stuff with the Illegals.
So that N Minor stuff, it's all like droney, very slow. I fucking love it.
I'm glad you did say Phil Demmel though, because Violence is one of my favorite thrash bands of all time. So
I love Phil Demmel, and he's one of the best dudes in the world. So
yeah, I'm so glad that Violence is back as a fully realized unit too.
Me too.
You know,
and they have Christian Oldie Wolvers on bass, which I think he's great. Anyway, I still kind of say kind of heavy there. What else do I listen to? I mean, we do like Bowie. We do like some Prince.
I love Prince. That's my all-time favorite artist of all time.
I mean, stuff like that, you know?
Now, obviously, you know, having a family and stuff and being a musician really probably, you know, and working at your school, there doesn't probably allow for much free time. But what do you enjoy when you're not doing any of your responsible stuff? Like, what do you hobbies and stuff like that? Like, what do you do to kill some time?
I really don't have very many hobbies. I do like to drink with my friends.
That's a hobby?
Yeah. So
I'm going
to say that. I try to work out, you know. It's not something I enjoy a lot. But,
right.
You know,
yeah.
I do CrossFit here and there, but yeah.
Now one thing that you're doing, and one thing that you're doing that I love, that's very important, and you know, I do want to touch on it for sure, is the Let There Be Rock School. Now this is something that you own and founded yourself.
So there's a Let There Be Rock in Frederick, Maryland, and they asked us to stop by and play for the kids on one of our tours. They saw we had a day off in Frederick, and they asked us to stop by. They had seen us previously on a Sword tour. They had gone to see the Sword, and we had opened for the Sword.
Okay.
And so we stopped there, and it's a great, amazing school, right? So we were kind of blown away, and some of the kids opened for us, and I was blown away by the kids. I was like, holy shit, I need to go warm up, because I was kind of not taking it very seriously, you know?
Right.
And then after that, we did that one more time, and the owner of Let There Be Rock and I became really good friends, and he was telling me that some of his friends had started Let There Be Rocks in other cities. There was one in Philadelphia, there was one in Florida, and I told him, like, what if, and I was already going to get married, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to manage that, and I was like, what if I opened one in El Paso? Like, how'd you feel about that? He's like, let's do it, and he helped me get it started, and so I've been at this for 6 years now. This is we just turned 6.
And what is the goal there? Is it because I mean, obviously you're teaching kids the arts and music. Are these programs in these type of schools essential because it's not being taken care of enough in the public school system? Is arts and that kind of stuff kind of getting pushed back more?
You know, honestly, I didn't even research what's happening in the public school systems. I know the first thing that suffers is the arts, right? That's the first thing they get rid of. I'm not sure if they do or don't get it here. I just knew that they weren't going to get this. You know what I mean? They weren't going to get like this opportunity to play in bands and play around town. And basically the goal is that they get comfortable with their instruments. We put them in bands. They play around town. We have gigs at least one every month. They're going to play at a baseball game this Sunday.
Nice.
Next month, they're going to open for the Iron Maidens, which is all-female Iron Maidens.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's great.
So they're constantly playing out, and so that's kind of the goal, right? To not let rock and roll die.
And now, what's the age spread there? Like, what's like the age limit? Like, what do you see the youngest kids coming in? We have
6-year-olds and we have adults. We have parents that join. You know, we've even had grandparents start learning. So there's no literally from 6 to whenever.
And are we noticing any prodigies standing out there? Are we finding the next Eddie Van Halens or the next?
There's a few, man. Yeah, there's a few kiddos that I'm like, whoa, like this kid's gonna do something. And you know, strangely enough, I have more than guitar. I have 2 bass players that are looking like they're prodigies. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Now, what do you have? Now, do you just have one child?
I have two boys.
Now, are you seing any artistic spark in your own children?
I mean, they like to beat shit. that's about as far as their artistic values go. But one of them did start drums here at the school.
And now, do you think that do you think as a parent yourself now with the music business where it is right now? I mean, you know, certainly you want to give your kids the freedom to choose what they want to do or whatever. But is it something that you would be like, you know, jumping up and down for joy for if they were to tell you that they wanted, if they were coming to you and saying we want to become full-time musicians? You know,
I don't know. That's I definitely get that asked a lot, and I don't really know if it's obviously I want them to do what they want.
Right.
I don't think I'd be as optimistic.
Right. It's tough. Yeah.
Hey, go for it. I'm gonna be a supportive parent. I think I don't know if I would be like super gun ho about it. Like a lot of musicians are like, yeah, that like I would love for my kid to I don't know. I don't know if it's what I would want for them, but
my son dabbled a little. My son dabbled a little bit, and when he came home and told me that he wanted to try drums in grade school. As a parent, you're thinking about all the pounding that you're going to hear. He didn't really get past banging on the little hockey stick, so it didn't really get past, or the hockey puck. The little black thing that you practice your rudimentary stuff on or whatever. But music business, like I said, being what it is right now, a lot of bands taking different approaches. I mean, obviously, it's hard not to utilize the musical platforms that are out there and release your stuff digitally. But what avenue do you see KYNG going in the future? Because a lot of bands are, they try to put out singles. Some of them are taking the EP route, small batches of songs, but well-crafted songs. You guys have put out fully realized albums. Is that kind of the same format that you want to follow?
I kind of like that format a lot. I know it's not. I know it's not practical. You know what I mean? Like, people are buying one song at a time, or not even buying it, just downloading a song at a time. But I love the entities that are albums. With their album artwork and their like. I like that stuff. I like releasing stuff like that.
Yeah. So you like a physical product, and I remember being as a kid, you open that stuff up, liner notes, and you studied those like a Bible.
Right.
Everybody thanked the bands they've been on tour with, the bands they were influenced by, and you would find a lot of your own music by saying, "Oh, James Hetfield wants to thank these bands."
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if a physical product is something that I'm super in favor of for KYNG, just because there's this cost element to it like you're not really gonna make it, like people aren't really buying these albums, you know what I mean?
I know.
I like it. I like to have stuff, but I mean, I'm the same way. All my music's on my phone, I'm not looking around CDs or LPs,
I know.
So I get it, but I do like the release, like the album release, even if it's digital. I like to say like, oh, here's our next album. I don't like saying here's our next single, here's our next single, here's our next single, here's our next,
Right.
But we'll see what happens. I mean, hopefully we start working to record our next album properly, which is already pretty much written. So we'll see what we do.
So when do you see an anticipated release date for the next album? Will we see it this year?
I would love to see it this year, but I'm not sure. But I would love for it to be this year. But we'll let you know as soon as possible.
And when you guys get together in a room, you guys, like, what's the creative process like? For you guys when the three of you get in a room? Is there somebody that kind of takes the reins? Does somebody specifically do lyrics and somebody do music? Do you guys all just kind of input ideas?
First of all, do you mind that I go to the car and drive?
Absolutely not. No. Take this with you. Absolutely.
I gotta go do my kiddos.
Sure.
Meet and greet. Meet the teachers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Yeah. That's all right. No.
What's the creative process like? Well, it's been different. This time has been completely different because I'm not living in LA and it's really hard to get there.
Right.
Eddie and I used to write a lot together. This has been more Eddie sending me a lot of his ideas and we're kind of rolling with them, trying to polish them over the phone or whatever,
Sure.
So it's been extremely different. This is the first time we're gonna do something this way. And hopefully it works out.
Got you frozen there for a minute.
Sorry, I'm really happy with the stuff that we're doing for sure. So I think pleasantly surprised.
So if we do see the album this year, what will be the plan? What will be the plan after that? Will you guys go out and do like the big tour?
That's the hopes, right? That's the hope. I would love to do some of the festivals, the summer festivals of next year. I would like to get back into the swing of things, just like we used to, I don't know if I don't know if I want to do like these, like, because we used to jump from tour to tour to tour. It was 3 months out of the year. I mean, 3 months in a row. We were on the road for 9 months out of the year at least. I don't know if I'm down for that.
anymore, but I definitely want to get out there. Like I definitely want to tour. I want to see these cities again. I want to play for as many people as possible. I want us to do tours that matter, tours that'll be good for us, you know?
Now, at the Let There Be Rock School, is there a need for an instructor to teach these kids how to be frontmen? Because I'm available.
Are you available?
I'm available, Pepe. I got you. I think these kids need to learn stage presence, wardrobe, and a very important one is how to sashay. I do the Van Halen sashay. You know, I mean,
I'll tell you right now, just based on what you just said, you're not hired.
Oh man, it's too much glam and sleaze, right? The kids don't need
glam,
that, right?
Man. Too much glam.
Yeah, I've got other ones. I've got Cool Factor 101, how to juggle groupies, all kinds of stuff. I mean,
that's definitely a class we need.
I could open up a lot of doors for these kids, Pepe. I really could. I
like it.
You know,
I like it, man. I like it.
Hey, listen, man. I know you're on your way to do stuff with your kids. I really appreciate you being so generous with your time, man, and taking us on the road here with you, and juggling things and finding some time for us this afternoon, man. I really enjoyed talking with you, man.
I really appreciate your interest in doing this with me, man. Thank you.
Yeah. KYNG is the band, KYNG, and don't try to go out and plagiarize it either. These guys will come looking for you. They're not fucking around. There's only one KYNG, right?
There's only one.
You want to add some more Y's and N's and G's? Go ahead, but these guys will come. These guys will come looking for you. There's only one fucking king, goddammit. Unless you're a hip hop artist, and then there's many.
Then there's 75.
Then there's 75 of them. So, yeah, listen, man, I really appreciate it. I wish you guys all the best. Can't wait for a new album from you guys, man. I am flying the flag for you guys and telling everybody that'll listen, almost to the point of annoyingness, if that's even a word, that they need to listen and get behind KYNG.
That means the world to us. Thank you so much for doing that, man. Seriously.
Yeah, sure. And I appreciate you being generous with your time, and spending god near almost an hour with a ridiculous guy like me. I mean,
It's my pleasure.
Although I will say, though, that hopefully I've provided you with an experience you'll never forget, because you can go and tell everybody that you got to meet a legend today.
Oh, yeah?
Go tell people I met Rex Ruger. That's Rex with 3 X's. I kind of did the hip-hop king thing there,
Yeah, you did.
The
original Rex Ruger with 1 X. Who are you plagiarizing, my friend?
That's true. I guess I better be looking for my own cease and desist letter in the mail.
Watch out. You better watch out.
Well, you know what? Okay, then just tell people that you met David Lee Roth Jr. then. I think that'll impress them more,
Done and done.
Done. Listen, Pepe, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, man.
Hey, thank you very much, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you talking to me, buddy. Have a good rest of your day, buddy. Thank you.
You too, man. Thank you.
All right. There he is, folks. The great. And you know what? I'm going to put him legend status. Fuck it. Because he is. That's legendary band KYNG. KYNG. Go look for them. They're a 3-piece band. You're not looking for the kings out there that are in the hip-hop world or the fakes, the knockoffs. In my mind, there's only one KYNG. And that man is part of it. And they are a great band. If you like that doomy, sludgy, Pantera-esque music, but with some fantastic singing. Eddie, the singer for KYNG, is a cross between a Lane Staley from Alice in Chains and a Chris Cornell, a beautiful voice. And these guys are real talented musicians. Like I mentioned in the interview, they did a beautiful instrumental song on their last acoustic album. These are guys with chops that can really, really play. A fantastic band, a fantastic bunch of guys, man. And, I'm, like I said, I'm flying the flag for them, man, and telling anybody to listen, including my Pod Scum audience. So go out and check out KYNG. And, what else can I really tell you? I think I told them all the stuff about the me being for hire to help them out with their frontman, curriculum. And I think it should be a curriculum. But I wrote down this today, this little pearl of wisdom, this little caveat that I want to, finish things off with here. My David Lee Roth thought for the day. Life is an ocean. Sometimes when you're walking on that beach, you might pick up a pebble and you throw it into the water and it lands. Bam! You just made a splash. But where does that pebble go? Who knows? Maybe you look up and a rainbow sprouts. Maybe at the end of said rainbow, there's a pot of gold. Maybe that pot holds in it a song. And if it does, you must sing it and keep the party going. Wop, bop, loo, bop, wop, wop. Keep it going. Because that water out there represents life. You know? It represents life. I may have lost a few of you people, but that's all right, because I think I lost myself. So I think I'm just going to leave it at this. Let me go back the last 45 seconds and erase that from your memory, because I don't know if that made a stitch of sense. But does anything that my dad says make sense? I mean, come on. We are the Roths here. So that was a really good episode, though. Again, I invite you guys to go and listen to KYNG. And until I see you guys next time, thank you for tuning into PodScum. I am Rex Ruger, reminding you guys to take it easy,